Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Stock. Here we are bringing to you guys a bit of a review, but most importantly, the expectations that we are going to have for the USMNT. This is, again, our opinions, but based on the retrospect we've had with Greg at the helm again in his second tenure, you see the background behind Braden. Copa America is this year. It's a hugely important year for the USMNTs, a make it or break it year. Some may say it may be the most important one, the most pivotal year we ever had in soccer in this country. So very briefly, before I hand over to you, Braden, just going to read out what we have seen. This is what we have to work so far as data with Greg back at the helm. We have a 3-0 win against Uzbekistan, 4-0 win against Oman. Then we see the real games, really. Against Germany, we lost 3-1. Had that banger from Pulisic, but unfortunately we did lose. Then, in my opinion, the best performance under Greg ever was a 4-0 win against Ghana, a 3-0 win against Trinidad and Tobago. Honestly, that scoreline does flatter us a little bit. And a 2-1 loss to Trinidad and Tobago before the Slovenia and Camp Cupcake, which just happened again. 1-0 loss, very underwhelming. It's not a big sample, but so far, what do you think, Braden? And how does this set us up for this year?
Yeah, it's not great, honestly. I think it started pretty positively because in Greg's first couple of camps back, and honestly, all of the camps he's had up until Camp Cupcake, all of the rosters have been a lot better. He's been picking the right players, so props to him for that. He's definitely improved on that aspect, but the tactics and the results, we haven't really seen much of a change. We still can't beat good teams. Ghana, a 4-0 win over them was our only impressive result, really, and Ghana just I think they got knocked out of the AFCON completely. They might have been one of the third place teams to qualify, but I'm pretty sure they're gone completely. So they're not even that good of a team anymore. So is that result really impressive? I don't think so. Honestly, the best game we had was probably the first half against Germany, where we were actually competitive. But honestly, it's been very underwhelming, and especially Camp Cupcake. We were gonna make a video on that, but we decided it's just not really important enough, honestly, with especially with the players that Greg called up. Most of them are never going to see 18 minutes in their lives, shouldn't have even been there in the first place, and just really a bad game in general. So it's not that encouraging, but like you said, this is probably the most important year we've ever had from a USMNT perspective, setting us up for the 2026 cycle with three major competitions that we should be looking to do well in.
Yeah, absolutely. And also just to defend ourselves a little bit on why we didn't really talk about Camp Cupcake, we did have the stock watch video. You guys can tune into that, where we did highlight who was, in our opinion, the best player on the day, Esmir Bayraktarovic. And we talked a little bit briefly about the game there. I don't think it was worth of too much attention. But I agree with you. I think that the rosters, I will give it that, the rosters have been considerably better. I think that the Camp Cupcake one is a bit of a waste, so I'll give him a little bit of a pass. But again, the rosters have gotten significantly better. I think that he brought a better roster each time than he did to the World Cup. So, I mean, that roster was madness in itself anyways. But just laying it out, as you said, such an important year. Three major competitions: Nations League, Copa America, and the Olympics, which, let's face it, could be a turning point really for the casuals. It turns a lot of eyes from people that don't really follow the sport, and we're going to get to compete in it. We haven't competed in such a long time. Braden, from your expectations, for if you can list all three of them, but starting with the one that we are the kings of CONCACAF, Nations League. What are your expectations on that one? Although we did get a scare against Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, let's just go one by one for the competitions. Nations League, we are the only winner ever. Obviously, it's a very, very new competition, both in CONCACAF and in general. Obviously, UEFA has their version of it. And yeah, we should look to retain our title. I believe we're playing against Jamaica in the semifinals, which should be actually a pretty tough matchup, especially considering our results with Greg back. Jamaica are a very talented team, and they look to have finally put their talent together. Their win against Canada in the quarterfinals was very impressive, especially going to Canada and getting it done in the second leg on the road. The talent looks to have finally gelled a little bit together, as opposed to the traditional Jamaica, where they have so much talent and they just can't get it together, whether it's the federation or the coach or the players can't play together. But they have a legit team now, and they're going to be, honestly, a very, very tough opponent. We should be able to beat them. The expectation is still to beat them. I'm not completely convinced that we will. in all honesty, especially with the fact that Sergiño Dest will be suspended, which could help defensively, but it's going to limit our creativity a lot because with Greg's tactics, we like to cross the ball. The fullbacks get very, very heavily involved. We've seen this with Jedi Robinson scoring a lot of goals recently for the U.S. Dest has had a lot of assists as well. So without him, I think it's going to be tough to get things going offensively when we don't really get things going offensively even with him. So I think Jamaica honestly has a pretty decent chance of upsetting us considering the situation, but the expectation is still to win. And then in the final, either Panama or Mexico. I actually think it'll be Panama, but either way, we should beat them. I think Panama are a better team. CONCACAF will obviously try to rig it for a USA-Mexico final because that's what brings in the money for them, and that's what always happens. And I mean, it's such a big rivalry as well, really the only notable rivalry in CONCACAF. So it'd be cool to see another USA-Mexico final. I'm not sure if it'll happen, but regardless of who we play, it doesn't matter. We are the kings of CONCACAF. We should remain the kings of CONCACAF, and the gap should be getting bigger, not smaller. So we need to win this competition.
Completely agree with you, but I also agree with the take on Jamaica. I think that there's a real chance that Jamaica upsets us. I hope that I'm wrong. And you're right. Although we like to pinpoint how bad Dest is defensively, these types of games, well, in any type of game, but especially when we are commanding, or we should command this game, the fullbacks are the biggest outlet for Greg. It seems like that's the biggest thing. The biggest outlet is just playing through the wings and lump in crosses, even if it doesn't make any sense. So I agree with you. I think that's the toughest game, really. The final should be whoever wins that game. Even if Jamaica does beat us, I know that they lost to Mexico previously, but I think that whoever wins that game is going to win the Nations League, and it should be us. I think it should still be us. I completely agree with you. It's a pivotal moment, also to give the guys a little bit of confidence. Again, these are meaningful games. Preparing to the Copa America is the best preparation we're going to have. I see that we're going to have some friendlies before, but let's face it, it's always best to test our players when it's actually meaning something. So, and I hope that it's against Mexico. I'd love to beat Mexico again in the final. But moving on to the toughest one, it's the big one. It's the one that really, really matters. It's the Copa America. It's right behind us. Amazing that we're getting to play in this. First of all, props if it was the money talking to CONMEBOL, but to bringing this competition here, to allowing us to have this competition as opposed to just preparing to the World Cup with friendlies, which would have been the case otherwise. But we've seen the group. Do you think we're going to progress? And first, can we top against Uruguay? What are your expectations, Braden, in this competition? What would make you happy with the US-17?
Like you said, props to CONMEBOL for being broke and needing some of that American money. The last time we had it here, Copa America Centenario in 2016, it was honestly, I believe, there might be a little biased, but I think it was the best Copa America that's ever been played. Definitely the most attendance. I went to several of the games, including the final. That atmosphere was electric, despite being in the United States. And I'm looking for the same thing to happen here in 2024, especially considering the U.S., we actually made the semifinal back then with a pretty bad team. Now we actually have a very competent team, although not really a competent manager. But the team's a lot better. Our expectations should be higher than that. But honestly, when we look at our group, I have a very real fear that we won't even get out of it. Like I said, I'm very, very high on Panama. I think they're a very, very good team, the best they've been in a long time. They made the World Cup back in 2018. I think this team's a lot better than the team that made it back then. And I do think we'll get out of the group, but there's no way we're beating Uruguay. Right now, they're my picks to win the entire tournament. Obviously, when it gets closer to the start of Copa America, we'll do a full breakdown video with our predictions and everything. But as of now, I think Uruguay are going to win it, especially topping the group. I don't think we match up to them well at all. I think we'll finish second and then probably be playing against Brazil or Colombia in the quarterfinals, which honestly, if it is Brazil and we lose it to Brazil, as long as it's a valiant effort and we don't get embarrassed 3 or 4-0, I think that's acceptable. Even though a quarterfinals on paper doesn't look good, but when you consider that it's one of the biggest national teams in history, they have like so many good players, one of the best in the world, it's really not that embarrassing as long as we keep it competitive, keep it a close game at home. That's my goal. I think the expectation, that's my expectation. I think the goal should be semifinals at least, because this is our home tournament. We need to make a statement before the World Cup, which we're also hosting in 2026. FIFA basically gave us every competition ever in soccer and said, grow the sport, and we need to do that. We need to make a statement here in Copa America. Will we? I don't think so. But we need to at least aim for the semifinals because we need to have one signature victory. I think that's been a topic that I know TAC has talked a lot about. we don't have a signature victory under Greg. We have a signature draw against England in the World Cup, and that was a great game, but we don't have any signature wins over big teams, and we need one of those in the Copa America to really be taken seriously in 2026.
Agreed. Completely agreed. The one thing that I won't really agree on, and this is because I'm completely biased. So people that don't know, I was born in Brazil. My family is Brazilian, and I'm very pro-U.S. I don't want not that I don't want anything to do with Brazil. Obviously, I'm always going to have ties there, but I think that Brazil is at their weakest. I would actually feel a little bit more comfortable with us playing against Brazil than Colombia, even though obviously on paper Brazil should be a better squad. I think that they're very vulnerable at the back. I think that they would definitely face us with a little bit of a superiority complex that has been and caused them to play sluggish throughout, honestly, the past 2 decades. So I think that honestly, maybe Colombia would be a tougher one. But I agree with you. The first step is just to get out of the group. It's not as easy as people think. My expectation for us is the same as the goal, to make the semis. But I completely understand if we falter. That's what my heart says, but my head, let's be honest, I think that we will get crushed in the quarterfinals. I think it will be a heartbreaking loss. It's typical fashion, really, to any club or country that I support. But I think that that's what's going to happen. But ultimately, I sincerely hope that we can have a good game against Brazil. I hope that we play them. I hope we beat them. Obviously, and everything that we're saying, guys, no hate against the U.S. This is just our takes, really. We know our fan base is quite passionate, so just want to emphasize that. But I agree with you. This needs to be a statement tournament because it's so important for the preparation for the big one, the end goal, the World Cup. So let's see what happens. Now moving on to the other one, which I think has a lot of value for the casual fans, and also maybe you never know what if a player emerges through this. This is U23, although we can call up 3 senior players. I think they'll be all at the back since we're very short there, but Brandon, what are your expectations of the Olympics? Greg's not going to coach us. Do we have a bit more hope on that one?
The fact that we have a different manager is already a huge plus. And like you said, I think the 3 overage players, I would personally use 2 of them on center backs, 1 of them on striker, because those are the weakest spots of our player pool right now for the U23s. Obviously, we don't know what the coach is going to do. I think it's Marko Mitrovic, the former U19 coach. We don't know what he's thinking. We don't even know which underage players will be there. There's still, I think, 1 more U23 camp before that'll probably be in March, same as the Nations League. So that's going to be one to look forward to. I think the U23 camps have honestly been some of my favorite to watch because we get to see the next generation coming up. And honestly, this USMNT, I'm not saying it's stale or anything, but we've had the same player pool for a while now. And so the games sometimes with Greg's tactics get a bit boring. So it's nice to watch something new tactics with a new manager and exciting young players. So I think the Olympics is going to be a breath of fresh air for us, and it's going to be super important as well because non-soccer fans, just casual sports fans in the US and all over the world, they tune into the Olympics because it's behind the World Cup. It's the biggest sporting event in the world just in general. And they're going to be tuning into the U.S. teams for every sport to root on our country. We have very, very passionate fans in the U.S. It's something I love, how patriotic we are about our country. So I assume that fans will be tuning in for soccer, especially when they hear a little bit of hype behind our team. They probably won't know that it won't be our main team going, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. They'll be tuning in regardless, and the U23s need to put on a show. I think the goal should be to get a medal. My expectation is honestly pretty similar. I think we'll get at least to the semifinals. I think we will lose in the semifinals, whether we win the 3rd place game and get the bronze medal or not. I'd have to see the final bracket. There's still some teams, especially in South America, that haven't qualified yet. They could really impact the tournament and how it plays out. But I think we need to have a strong showing to really grow the game and grow more of the casual fan base into soccer fans in America, because soccer, let's face it, it's still probably the 4th or 5th most popular sport here behind American football, basketball, baseball, and hockey are both up for debate, but I think baseball is still definitely ahead right now. We need to try to push it up into the top 3 and even higher if we really want to produce our development, because we have so many people here. If soccer is the #1 sport in general, we're going to be able to produce more prospects. It's about the future of the game in the country. But yeah, the Olympics is going to be super important. The U23s need to show out. It is important to note as well that the clubs that the U23s play for don't have to release them, so there could be some issues there. We don't know I think Pulisic, some of the 18 players said they want to play, but I don't know if the clubs will let them play 2 tournaments in the same summer, especially considering how injury prone our entire player pool is. But all of that remains to be seen. We'll have a more clear view on where we stand closer to the tournament when all the teams are set and the player pool is set. But like I said, our expectation and the goal needs to be at least a semifinals, and we need to get a medal.
I agree. I completely agree. My expectation is for us to honestly give it a real go and try to win the tournament. I would love for us to take, I don't know what the Federation's plans are behind this. Is again, just speculation. We're fans, but I would love for us to take this extremely seriously, like Brazil have. It was just taking Brazil for not having the gold medal for such a long time. Then they put on the focus, and now they really, really, really care about the Olympics, really. And all of the senior players want to play in it. I know that Pulisic has mentioned in the past that he would love to play in it. I would love to see Pulisic play there, but again, it's right after Copa America. What I want us to do, I agree with you, try to go for a medal. My expectations for us to get at least a medal, at least a bronze, at the very least. I think that we have a reasonably good squad. I would love for us to have a bit more. I don't know if they're going to do more friendlies before the competition. I hope so. And I think that it would be amazing to have Pepe starting, so we can still save one more U20 overage player spot there. So, but I agree with you. But ultimately, the goal is to get a medal there. And you're right. Most of the Americans there won't really know that that's not our A team or any country's A team, but we'll take it, whatever they can give us. But yeah, for you guys that are watching, take this as a season prediction, similar to what we do in the summer with tables. It is international football is a different thing. And ultimately, we judge it on the year end, not really a season end, because that's how we always play during the summer or winter, since that's what happened in the last World Cup. But it is what it is. Anything else you want to add, Braden, before we move on and thank the fans for tuning in?
Yeah, just one question. What would be the minimum expectations to have a successful 2024 based on all the competitions we're in? What's the bare minimum for it to be a successful year?
I have two crazy takes. Either we go absolutely bonkers and tank everything and have a horrible year, and then Greg gets fired, which is what it would take for him to get fired. But in seriousness, what I think, and that's real, I honestly think that if we're going to not get out of the group in the Copa America, let's get spanked by everyone. But I think that the minimum, the very bare minimum is quarterfinals. That's the very bare minimum, really. Being very kind here. Quarterfinals in Copa America, win Nations League, and get a medal, any medal in the Olympics. That's the bare minimum, in my opinion. Greg's pretty good at getting by with the bare minimum. What do you think, Brayden? Is that your views aligned with mine?
Pretty similar, but my expectations are basically exactly that. But honestly, based on my expectations, I don't think we would have a successful year. I think what we need for it to be a successful 2024 and a positive step in the right direction towards 2026, like you said, state the obvious, we need to win Nations League. That's the start. That's how we're going to kick off the year, and that's honestly our performance there is going to play into the Copa America, which honestly, I think it's not a successful year if we don't make the semifinals. We need to show that we can beat big teams before the World Cup in 2026, which we haven't been able to do yet. Like I said, we've been able to draw, we've been able to keep it close for a half or so against Germany in particular. But realistically, we got played off the park against the Netherlands in 2022, and that was only the round of 16. If we want to be serious contenders for not even a finals run, for a deep quarterfinals or semifinals run in 2026, we need to show that we can beat big teams. And for that to happen, we need to make the semifinals of the Copa America and beat one big team. Who knows, maybe even beat two. Beat Uruguay in the group stage, that would count as well. And then maybe even win the semifinals as well. I don't think there's any chance we win the tournament. Honestly, I don't think we have the manager, the tactics for that, or the players, honestly. It's a very good group, but it's not Copa America winning quality. But if we can at least make the semifinals and then get a silver medal in the Olympics, I think a bronze would be okay, but at that point, we're kind of just winning the third place game. As long as we make the final, I think that would be a successful year.
Yeah, that's great. And honestly, that should be the goal. But my expectation, I think it is kind of okay depending on what happens in Copa America. If you're missing some players, I'll say quarterfinal. But completely agree with yours. That's the dream. And before we go, I just want to say we're gonna do videos specifically focused on those games. Obviously, This is just really a preview. As I said, take it as a season prediction if you want to do so for the USMNT. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. We see that there are a lot of new subscribers in the channel, new people commenting. We love to read that. Please leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends if you can, and we'll have a nice discussion in the comments below with your expectations. What are your guys' goals for the USMNT, or if you want to shout out one crazy thing that may happen there. But thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you next time.